Are you ready for brown gravy? Oh, taste and see, there's a word for you and me. For brown gravy.
Serving the uncompromising truth makes us truly free.
For brown gravy. Open your heart, your mind, your soul, he'll make you whole. For brown gravy.
Preaching with power.
It's the Relevant Leadership Strategist.
Are you ready for brown gravy? Are you ready for brown? I'm wondering if you're ready for brown gravy. You should be. It's lunchtime. And so, the way that I say it most often is this: brown gravy, if you put it on some things that's kind of bland or doesn't really have any taste, when you add brown gravy to it, it always makes it taste better. And so I appreciate you all for tuning in for your lunch time. So go ahead and get your Starbucks, get your Chick-fil-A, get your Subway, get your McDonald's, if you get McDonald's. And man, sit down at our digital table and have a conversation or join in on the conversation with myself and a special guest that I have. He is a great friend of mine. I don't remember how long we've known one another now, but that's what happens when you meet kingdom connections. God has a way of kind of melting the relationship together, and the years kind of become longer than they actually are. But he's a phenomenal man of God, great pastor, has written a few books. Well, no, one book, but he got more than one. But we'll talk about that once we put him on. He pastors in Goldsboro, North Carolina, and I believe, or is it South Carolina? He'll get it all straight when he gets on. I know it's Goldsboro, I do know that. And at least I think I know that. But he's going to come and join us for the leadership conversation. What I want you to do, though, right now is first and foremost, share this video. I believe that there's going to be something said during this conversation with my brother that's going to bless your senior pastor. It's going to bless your secondary leaders. Leadership is what I do, man. It just oozes out of me. Even if I'm trying to talk about something else, leadership is going to come. And I'm connected to some people, man, who also has that same kind of mindset. Thought leaders, people who are kind of innovative. They're thinking ahead of the game and not just trying to play catch up. And none of us want to play catch up at this point. And so share the video. If you're in groups of leaders, share this video to those particular groups. And I believe that they're going to be blessed. I'm also going to put up some information for you to have, just in case you'd like to go get our book. I want you to be able to have that information. As a matter of fact, I got more than one book. I've written 7 up to this point. And so you can go to that website, check that book out. Let's see if we can put it up, and it's a whole lot of information. So just go click that whenever you get a chance. It's way too big, got everything covered, but it'll be up there so that you can always go back into the comment box and click that link. So our books are at my website, igettoserve.com. Also, we'd like for you to register tonight. As a matter of fact, let me put that up too. Tonight, we're going to do a training for pastors. I don't have it. So we're going to do a training for pastors called Helping the Helpers. For senior pastors and lead leaders on a Zoom meeting. I call it Z-Pack on Zoom. Yeah, Z-Pack kind of gives you those antibiotics that you need to fight off viruses. And so it's a Z-Pack on Zoom for leaders, helping the helpers. And we want to be able to add girth and strength to you. It happens tonight at 8 o'clock. We'll put that link up. Well, the link is already up right there. We put it in there. Click that link, register. It's totally free. Dr. Robinson and I, Apostle Robinson, but he's also Dr. Robinson. He and I are going to tag team tonight and add value to what you're doing. Man, listen, if you feel like I feel, I'm working harder now than I've ever worked. But again, we'll kind of talk about that a little later. Also, in that comment is our YouTube channel, Brown Gravy TV. Man, click that link. There's some stuff up there that I know will be a blessing to you. Overseer Hyman, God bless you, sir. Thank you for joining. Do me a favor, man. Share this with some leaders that are ready to think. Now, if they don't want to think, don't share it, but bless their heart. All right. So that's enough of the intro piece and commercials or whatever. I'm ready for brown gravy, and everybody I bring, listen, they got a gravy of their own. Pastor Terry Jones, man, he has a gravy, but his is not necessarily called gravy. It's called rhythm. The brother has a rhythm with what he does as he pastors, as he leads as a husband, as he leads as a father, as he even leads as a son. We're all part of a fellowship gathering of shepherds, and man, I've watched him serve Dr. Vernon very well, and just that rhythm that he just has, even with the brethren, man, he's smooth. And so you're going to get a chance to meet, if you've never met him for the first time, and or glean, if you've already gleaned from him, again, one of my great friends, Pastor Terry Jones. Pastor Jones,
Bishop.
the Dr.
So good to
Jones.
see you, sir.
It's better to see you. Listen, forgive me. I did you a disservice. I said pastor and didn't put doctor in front. Forgive me. I won't make that mistake again. Dr. Jones.
I receive it in due
Yeah,
time.
in Jesus' name. Listen.
Thanks for the push.
Thank you. For people who have been under a rock somewhere, who well, or maybe they've just had their head down grinding and didn't realize that there were some really brilliant people out there, would you introduce yourself and kind of tell them who you are, where you pastor, some of the things that you do, of course, your marital status, all those kind of things. You take the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for having me, Bishop, and certainly love and honor to your lovely bride, to your children. Love them dearly, as well as your church. I appreciate you for having me. My name is Terry Jones, Goldsboro, North Carolina. This is all I know. This is all I've been, and all I've experienced, other than some light travels and things along that nature. This is what I call home. And out of this place called Goldsboro, North Carolina, the Lord has been gracious enough to birth a decent little movement that we know as City Church of Goldsboro. And we'll be celebrating 7 years of ministry in November. And God has been more than faithful relative to that work. Of course, my wife, Juliet Jones, who stands beside me, we have been married now since 2003. 3 beautiful boys. They are all around here. So accept my apologies in advance for anything that could happen. Again, they're beautiful boys. They know how to act, but we keep it 100 around here. So yeah, that's me, man. I'm so much like everybody else, in many cases, in quarantine or slowly drifting back out. I think part of the reason we're here is so that we ensure that we don't become deceived by this idea of returning to normal. I don't think they will ever be a normal. And I think, or for that matter, there'll be a new normal. And I don't think all of it is the enemy.
Man, listen, and we're going to talk about that. That's actually one of the questions I got written down. One of the things that I've said, especially when the stimulus check started kind of rolling out, was for me, it's kind of interesting that everything was completely shut down, go nowhere, touch nothing, see nobody until they started rolling out the stimulus. And then when the stimulus was coming out in its full bounty, it was kind of leaking at first, and then they just sent one real big one to a bunch of people. All of a sudden, it's okay to go out to certain shops. And I thought, well, why last week everybody stay home, but stimulus comes, go on out to a few of those retail stores, and kind of like, in my estimation, they loaned you the money because they realized that for our ethnicity, unfortunately, and it's statistically speaking, so I'm not hating on our group, they know that we're more consumers, and that we're going to give them that money right back so it wouldn't be out of their coffers for long. And so one of the things that I've said, and I'm going to continue to say, is don't let the stimulus stimulate stupidity. That that sit down somewhere, put that stimulus check somewhere else, invest it, sow, those kind of things. But don't be stupid and go out there and end up contracting this virus. And not that virus is a death sentence. I'm a witness. I mean, I contracted it, and it's a monster.
Yes,
But that aside, who knows what could happen if anyone else does? And so I would rather err on the side of caution. If I'm going to err, it's going to be because we're being too cautious, not because we're out there just flailing around. Your thoughts with that?
I say this not disrespectfully, but I guess if I were to use your words, this is me putting a little brown gravy on it. I think it's a sad day when you can be led better by Amazon than your president. I am an Amazon Prime person, and until Amazon makes a full commitment to get my orders back on my doorstep in 2 days, I'm going to be comfortable right here at home with my family.
I never even thought about that. Dr. Bryant said something, and I've been stealing his statement. And he was like, when the golf course opens and the salon, those kind of things, and when the government goes back in full blast, then, yeah, we can probably start flipping out. Until then, belt don't mean that much to me. J.C. Penney don't mean that. The mall don't mean that much to me. I'd rather be home right here with my family. And I think
we ain't going nowhere. What are you trying to buy? A new robe to sit at home with your spouse?
Joan,
you're not going anywhere. Sit down.
I said you're going out there to buy a dress for your casket. So you can look cute in your casket. Is that what you're doing that for? No, sit down somewhere and enjoy this moment and maximize this moment. I think now more than ever, we get an opportunity to maximize whatever's taking place, or God rather wants to take place within our life. And then once we release, we can be better for it, which segues into what I kind of want to talk about today, and that's leadership. In my estimation, man, I don't even think it's mine, it's scripture. Everybody has the leadership potential inside of them. Just unfortunately, the potential doesn't always translate into kinetic, that they don't always step into those moments. So God put pause on the whole world. I mean, who else but God could do that? You thought your money was more important? Well, let me put pause on your money. Your job was more important? Let me pause your job. Entertainment was more important? All right, let me pause basket. Who's gonna shut down the NBA? Listen, LeBron was trying to make his comeback to show that he's a good Laker. Now he'll never be a better Laker than Kobe or Magic. I'm just saying.
I will give you that one. I'll say this, however, as well. We don't give the NBA enough credit because between the NBA and NCAA, they were in many cases the initiator of everyone beginning to take this thing a little bit more serious.
True.
Had they not moved the way that they did, there's no telling how much more damage could have happened and or occurred. But it was because of their prompting that things began to kind of awaken relative to this crisis. Absolutely.
You're absolutely right with that, man. They kind of shook it all. So if entertainment was your God, you shut it down. And he said, let me give you a minute to focus in on one of the greatest gifts I've given the world, you, that we've not tapped into because we let life take precedence. And when you let life happen, well, life will. We're not supposed to let it happen. We're supposed to make it happen. But we can't make it happen if we don't realize the gene in us. So I want to ask you a question. How important is it to catch the rhythm of innovation, or should we totally dance to our own beat in this moment?
Again, in consideration, without undermining it, and again, you have been impacted by this crisis just the same. Our world has gone through an extensive period of having an asthma attack. In many cases, because of pollution, because of trash, because of just being so busy and not taking time to pause, breathe, and to gather our rhythm, we have been experiencing a season-long asthma attack. And I believe in many cases, this crisis has become a period of rest, not only for us as individuals, but for the world. The world has been in a reset mode. And as God has almost instituted a divine inhaler, instead of us receiving and taking in, before we have even found full healing, we're ready to take off running again. And if we're not careful, we're going to be right back in this position before long, because as Big Mama will say, we don't know how to get somewhere and sit down.
Well, maybe because we don't have as many Big Mamas no more.
True.
Yeah, maybe if Big Mama was more prevalent, we'd all be sitting down somewhere.
For sure.
So your thought then is, and of course I'm using the word rhythm because, well, I'm saying of course because I'm not sure if everyone knows, you wrote a book about rhythm and the rhythm of life. Yeah, put that book up so I can get the exact title. Yeah, man.
Rhythm, living at the beat of the Father's heart.
Mm-hmm.
If you're crazy and daring enough, you can find it at I am Terry D. Jones. That is Terry with the Y as in yellow, not an I. I am TerryDJones.com. You can find it there, or you can find it at Amazon if you so choose. Paper copy, electronic version, so be it.
I love it. And if there's anybody from the city's church that knows that information, would you put it in the comment box so we can pop it up on the screen and hold it up there for a while for those who, don't type and listen as fast. I want to make sure that it gets up there so they can get a screenshot of that particular book. But you're the author of that book dealing with rhythm, and then you linked it to the Father's heart, God. And so with that being said, and I believe, just like you, that it's the divine reset. I never thought about the inhaler part. That was really good. I'm gonna steal it. Well, I'll give you the credit. I do 3 times. There's some people only do once. I think 3 is fair.
I've stolen enough of your stuff without giving you credit, so I owe you that one.
All right.
I owe you that one.
Yes, sir. But I think that's good. So if the world is having an asthma attack, as you said, and God is giving us the inhaler, reset for the inhaler, usually those who have asthma, once they do the inhaler, they don't run right back into some of the same things that caused the asthma attack. They innovate. They do something a little different. So what's the rhythm now, man, from the Father's heart in your estimation?
I think in this season, a great deal of it is simply returning to the Father's heart. There becomes that time when you're a little bit of a novice and you're learning, and there's that sense of needing to depend on. So I'll give you an example. Athletically, when you have ever been injured, maybe a leg, something along that line, and you were required to use your crutches, and that in the early stages of your injury, you would never put those crutches down.
Right.
And the more and more you got comfortable, although you were limping, you had to learn how to manage your limp. You become a little bit comfortable moving around without those crutches. And the church, sadly, we have gotten to a point where we've become comfortable limping. We're beginning to function at a rhythm on a consistent and daily basis, forgetting that God is our crutch. We need him. We have to learn and to continue to forever learn, and depend on him. And sadly, we have gotten so good at church that we have left out the Christianity part of it.
Dig into that.
I think in this season, he is really calling us back to himself. And that's what rhythm is about. It's I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. When you watch The Last Dance, Jordan's final year, I love LeBron. Kobe was a dog. KD still developing. Curry still developing as it relates to that level.
Mhm.
But to compare any of those cats to Jordan, you ought to smack yourself for that.
There is.
That, that just doesn't even make sense. And what made Jordan who he was is when he got on the court and was able to get into rhythm. You can put 12 defenders on the court. I mean, the basket was too big for him to miss. And sadly, for many of us, there are a lot of misses that we're taking in life. Although the basket is big, we haven't found our rhythm. And we're so much on the go, so much on the go, so much on the go. The psalmist said it this way, morning, noon, and evening will I seek thee. To me, this is him calling us to rhythm. He says, I do this because when I come to you, I'm laying out all of my distress before you. That word distress is divided stress or divided focus. And one of the reasons we're being impacted in the way that we are is because our focus has been divided. We have lost a sense of the Father's heart, and we are looking for social media numbers, butts in the seats, breaking giving records. As long as we're pleasing people, if God isn't pleased, we've gotten to a position we don't even care anymore. And of course, that's a dangerous place to be in. But I'm so thankful for a season like this. And again, I say that not insensitively, but any leader worth his or her salt is taking this opportunity to maximize this moment, to reset our ear to the heart of God, and almost to begin again.
You know, while you were talking, and you made mention of the injury and what happens post injury, that you're gingerly on those crutches, and you get off of those crutches slow before you actually start running. And even after you run, there's still this moment where you're more cautious with the weight that you put on what was injured. And it's not until maybe another great moment comes or strong moment comes and you react before you think and realize it's strong enough for you to continue running. So it's almost a process of sorts before we get to running. But another thought popped in my head. You know, rhythm. When my daughter, she dances very well. She gets some of that. Daddy got rhythm, or used to at least. And yeah, I know I used to, because now when she's doing certain dances and trying to teach me, which, let me pause and parenthetically insert, I don't understand these dances. These dances they do now. It's kind of I don't know. It's like herky jerky. It's like you got electrocuted. I mean, I don't get it. but it's just interesting. So I'm trying to do these dances that they do now, and she was teaching me one day, and I was just going at it, and she said, "Stop! You're out of rhythm, and the only way you can catch up is if you totally stop and then start again, following me." And I thought, okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. You're trying to say that I can't catch it continuing to do it out of rhythm, that I need to stop totally and catch the rhythm so that I can do some simulation of what it is that you're trying to show me. She's like, absolutely. And third, you just put that for me in a capsule that
Yes, sir.
that we got stopped to catch his rhythm, because God was saying something, but we were so busy doing some other stuff, dancing and going on, trying to catch up with his rhythm. And he realized that we were never going to catch the beat until we stopped long enough to hear the beat again and then catch it and start rolling again.
Yeah.
I really think that God started kind of changing the tune a little bit, and we were dancing to an old one.
Yeah, we consider, like, in the creation narrative, when, days 1 through 3, God creates these pockets of space, And at days 4 through 6, he creates elements to inhabit those pockets of space.
Yeah.
And after all of that creation, he does something on day 7 that makes no sense for God divine. He takes a day of rest. And in reality, he establishes that day of rest for us as a priority. But in reality, now we use rest as a penalty. That when I've been on my job and I've had it up to here, I'm going to take me the weekend off. I'm going to take a week off. So now rest has become your penalty instead of your priority. And in that, we have lost productivity.
Wait, man. Wait, say that again. This penalty. We've used rest as a penalty. Say that again.
We use rest now as a penalty instead of a priority. And because it's no longer our priority, we've lost productivity. Now, the thing is, God didn't need it, but he's setting a pattern for us. And in essence, we're looking at God who took rest to say, I don't need rest. We are basically making ourselves him or beyond him. And it's one of the reasons we're in the position that we're in now. God is calling us back to a place of rest and to a place of rhythm. Watch this now. Wayne Muller, he has a incredible book on Sabbath rest. Beautiful book. And in this book, he says, in essence, he says, you can choose rest or rest will choose you. In essence, it's not an option. The only option you have is if you choose it or if it chooses you. Because if you don't choose it and take consistent periods of rest, renewal, and finding your rhythm, then it will find you by way of cancer. It'll find you by way of diabetes. It'll find you by way of sickness. One way or another, you're going to take a seat. The question is, are you going to do it because you chose it, or will you do it because it chose you?
All right, Terry. Thank you for the rebuke. Let me say, I'm probably one of those ones that rest usually chooses. That I probably don't choose rest, and I can always tell when I need it because I start getting sick. And once I get sick, I know it's time for me to kind of settle down. And then usually I don't settle down until I'm too sick to do anything. And so it kind of chooses. It's been choosing me, but.
Yeah.
Seriously, lately I've been.
I will say this, and you know I love you, but you call me on, so and I'm with you. The part of that people like you and I will have to pay for is because and I do it the same way. I'm gonna go until I get sick, and when I get sick, that tells me I need to slow down. But in all of that, I still place no time and priority for my children, for my wife. And so in essence, they don't get the best of me, they get my leftovers. So when I'm professionally done, when I can't go anymore, then here goes daddy, or here's your husband. But we gave a finicky, flaky church our absolute best. And we gave our leftovers to people who were going to be there forever.
Terry,
that's an area wherein I have had to make a commitment to, and it's a fight to do better. I'm going to tell you why. Because on average, Seventh-day Adventists live 10 years longer than the average American. On average, Seventh-day Adventists live 10 years longer. And the reason is because on our Sabbath, we end up taking our kids to baseball. We end up taking them to football. We end up taking them to this and that. For Seventh-day Adventists, generally, on their Sabbath, don't call it. This is my day of rest. And because they have prioritized their rest, their days have been lengthened and or extended.
Brother, I really don't think that we understand that word Sabbath properly.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
I remember when it started becoming sexy. You know, that word, taking your Sabbath, it started kind of becoming sexy. Everybody's throwing it out there. I need my Sabbath, take my Sabbath. And I started realizing that there were some people who were using the term, but didn't understand that term at all because most, well, I won't say most, a few of them were already carnal and looking for another way to be to fall even deeper into carnality. And so they weren't necessarily taking a Sabbath, but they were pulling aside just to be wild and loose without any accountability. And I've said that when you take a Sabbath, that's not you necessarily going and being out and about and shopping and all. I mean, I don't know. I know that that's how some people spell relief, but that's not necessarily Sabbath. When the way I understand Sabbath is that that is a day of shutdown and total communion with you and the Father, reevaluating, reset, and restoring all of the energy you've been pouring out, making sure that you're still flowing the right way. And that's a communion time between you and God with no other interruptions or no other distractions. Help us with that word.
So my godson and his lovely wife, my goddaughter, they are at the hospital now. They might be on, maybe. They're gonna be having a baby today in most cases. And this is gonna be their second girl. I got three boys. This is gonna be their second girl. Um, I think the Lord saw fit. He knew that I wasn't ready for a girl as much as I wanted one. He knew. I didn't tell my wife the other day. I was thinking about, man, what would it be like if we had a baby again? I didn't tell my wife. She might be watching. Here she is. She probably logged off right there. Like, what is he talking about? I couldn't help but think, like, what would it be like just to, it is something about how an infant just finds rest in their father's arms, finds peace, and there is a sense of dependency. It's just a beautiful thing. And Sabbath provides us as adults an opportunity to become infants again.
Mm.
For one day every week, to the best of your ability, it allows a 40, 50, 60-year-old grown man to become a child again in the arms of God and say, Lord, I've given my absolute best these last 6 days. Anything I could not have accomplished, I'm believing and depending on you to finish it. But even if I don't finish it, as long as I have you, I have everything that I need. And
Wow.
so there is a healthy component to that just the same. Of course, not just stopping and slowing down, but it's reprioritizing your position. And we came into the earth as infants, leaning naturally, but also spiritually. But naturally, we can't go back to that state. But spiritually, it's a state we should never go away from.
Mm. Mm. Now, see, I'm looking for a Hammond somewhere. I may need to pull my app up so that I can hit one of those
Pull
chords.
triggers.
Yeah, because sir, you got me about to run around up in here because that is so true. And the more you're saying that, I can literally see myself in moments where I grab Sabbath times and I'm just kind of crawling back up in God's arm and resting there with Him. And quite honestly, it's been a while since I was able to do it, and it wasn't until Paul's hit the world that I could. The pause gave me the opportunity and the took away a lot of the noise for me to just rest in God and rejuvenate. I mean, now I feel stronger than I've ever. Well, I'm more tired than I've ever been because I'm having to think more. But as far as body rest and my connection with God, it feels stronger.
Yeah.
And I'm so ready to grab a microphone and get in the pulpit somewhere and holler that it's ridiculous, or stand in front of a lectern and teach till it's crazy because I've gotten more downloads in the last 30 days or so than I've had in the year or so kind of running. Not that I wasn't talking, but I'm getting major downloads of stuff that I can minister from and teach for years to come.
Yes, sir.
Going forward, that I probably would have had to hear on the run and not just get it all kind of downloaded so I can eat it and munch on it, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that challenge. And you're absolutely right. See, it's the rhythm guy that tells us to sit down somewhere.
So it's even if you have those who are not in the church context, who they throw a lot of stones. All they want is money, and you shouldn't be tithing and all of that type of stuff, which in essence, your tithe is a tenth. You still got 90. Your tithe is a tenth. But your tithe isn't a gift to the house of God. Your tithe is a gift to you, because your tithe is the on-ramp for living a financially disciplined life. Tithe is not about what you give to the kingdom. It's about what the kingdom returns to you. It becomes the on-ramp for living a financially disciplined life. Now, why is that important? Because your Sabbath is not a gift to God. Your Sabbath is a gift to you. That when you live that disciplined lifestyle, then you begin to walk in the rest of your 6 days with structure that you never had in 7. And you'll find yourself getting more rest, but because of the discipline and the structure, you have more productivity.
Wow.
Now, the crazy thing about discipline is the only thing that separates us or others from those successful people we admire is discipline. Now, we can look back at Jordan's last dance all we want and say he was a bigot, he was mean, he was not a great teammate. What got him to where he was able to get is because he was disciplined. When everybody else was out kicking it, he came in to practice 2 hours early. He left practice 2 hours late. That discipline over an extended period of time is what separated people who paid tickets to watch him versus him paying tickets to watch others. So when we look at those people we admire, the only reason we're paying to see them instead of them paying to see us is because they instill more discipline in their lives.
Wow. I love it. Jones. That's so, man, listen, we could have this conversation and do a part 2. I mean, I'm enjoying this, and it's great to kind of bounce thoughts and ideas off of innovative, creative thinkers who kind of go outside the box. I mean, all of what you said thus far is incredible. I want to shift just a little bit. So somebody say, stay right there. I think Bishop Benjamin is on. God bless you, man. Right. Yeah, that's the dude right there.
Bishop's been killing my church with Living in the Black, his financial course. We have been going through that on every other Saturday. Bishop has blessed our house in a phenomenal way. I love you, sir.
Yeah, that's the Living in the Black guy. That's that financial dude who looks at the Bible and sees all the thing you just mentioned about tithe being that on ramp. He can help you get on ramp with that and on ramp with everything else as it relates to that in those moments. That's my dude. So I wanna so with Sabbath, I gotta talk about the elephant in the room. Many times, most people like myself, and I won't necessarily bring you in it, but I think you kind of fit in that category. Sabbath becomes more difficult because of the support or help or lack thereof around us. And so we're grinding as hard as we're grinding because, we may have people who are there, but not moving or dancing at the same rhythm. We're trying to get them there, and this is no knock on them at all. And they're doing their best to try to catch it, but they've not caught it yet. And so it's like, do we let it all fall, or do you continue to keep, dancing until they can all catch up? I think one of the things since you keep bringing up The Last Dance, which man, you talking about preaching material on leadership, it's chock full. We got to do a series on that sometime or another.
The King Jordan version.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, let's call it that. He didn't stop grinding when his support wasn't there. I mean, he kind of kept doing what he needed to do, but then his general manager was beginning to put pieces in place so that what he had the support it needed to elevate the whole team to the next level. Of course, God is that general manager for us, but many of us are playing hard, but we don't have all of the players around us to elevate that ministry to the next level. And so I wrote a question down, and it was, if you're serving as a secondary leader currently, what should that secondary leader actively be doing now in this current pandemic with their pastor as it relates to rhythm and getting in the rhythm of helping ministry and helping the church?
That's a great question. That secondary leader is functioning on influence by the, for lack of better terms, the primary leader or the senior leader. The day that I out front of everybody said your name, put my hand on you, gave you a microphone, your influence went to another level. Your responsibility now is not to use that influence to build your own stage, but to use that influence to continue to push the people in the culture in the direction of the heart and the vision of that senior leader. Now, so what should that secondary leader be doing? A season like this is when secondary leaders should have much more access to their primary leader. Now, we may not be doing it directly or face to face, but your primary leader is in no wise, out about running and shaking, doing as much. So this is an opportunity for secondary leaders to plug into your senior leader a little bit more. So when everything is said and done, and we kind of go back into reconvening, for that lack of better terms, you're ready to go at another pace because of the time you were able to spend with your senior leader. Now, I'll use this example. Shucks, I need to send Jordan a cash app because he's blessing my life right now. The difference between the Bulls and the 21st century church is we have built the church to function off of Sunday being a day of battlefield and the week being a day of celebration. When in reality for Jordan, his practices were a day of battlefield and the games were a day of celebration.
See, so you're giving away too many of the secrets that we're going to be preaching later. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Because of the pain he put his teammates through in practice, when they went to games, they just had fun taking out on other people. Here's the thing. You will never be able to become that type of leader if you need secondary leaders to love you in practice. Can't do it. Most of us never knew that Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr until we saw it last night.
Right. That shocked me.
We call that the ministerial kitchen. And just like that was for the Bulls, when it comes to leadership, when you got great secondary leaders and your heart is in the right place, there are going to be some things that happen in the kitchen that never make it to the dining room. And that is the difference to me between a secondary leader. A secondary leader walks in the kitchen, sees the mess, but still goes in the dining room talking about this food sure tastes good. The average person is going to say, shut it down. They don't meet code. A good secondary leader goes in the kitchen, sees the mess, walks in the dining room and acts like they never saw it. This is the best tasting food that I've ever seen. We're working on the mess in the kitchen, but until we get it together, keep serving the food like you never saw it.
Terry, so I wrote a book. I wrote a couple of leadership books, and one of them, I believe it's in the Wood Carrier book. As a matter of fact, this today is the 8th year anniversary of my first release book signing for Wood Carriers. And in that book, I make mention.
Phenomenal book, by the way.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And you got a phenomenal book as well. So I'm making sure that I keep that link up for them to get it. But in that book, it's either that one or my newest one. You know, after you done wrote so many of them, every point starts kind of bleeding together. I wrote one called Foundational Truths of Leadership. And I start talking about that kitchen and the dining room and the difference between the two and how it can be hot in the kitchen, but the temperature has to remain cool and inviting in the dining room. That no matter how hot the heat is in the kitchen, once you hit the door of the dining room, your attitude, your thoughts, your concepts, your precepts all change, because in the dining room is where those to whom will be consuming what the whole restaurant is giving becomes the most important. And if I'm not serving right in this moment, and right now the kitchen is hot for every church. I mean, we all got hot kitchens right now. We're attempting to push out what we can push out as best we can virtually with all the nuances and things that are coming. So it's a hot kitchen. And if you only have one cook that's trying to push out all these things, I'll never forget, I used to work for Quincy's in Darlington. Darlington used to have something called, I forget the name of it, but it was a big race. I grew up in Darlington, can't even think of the name because I used to hate that time, but it was our race season. And I mean, everybody from the world would come, ESPN and all of them, to this big race on the track, Too Tough to Tame in Darlington, South Carolina. Well, come lunchtime, all them folk would come straight to Quincy's and dinner time. And here's what the manager would say: I need my best people on the grill, right? I need the people who can have all these things lined up to take care of them and it not shake them. And they're able to manage multiple things at one time while still producing good food. And they can't yell, they can't fuss, or they can't quit, they can't give up, they can't say, I need a sabbatical. Not when it's hot. When it's hot and it's dinner time, kick that food out as quickly as possible. And so they would call me in. I was one of the ones who was the main griller. And we had tickets lined up across what we call our pull tickets. Man, those steaks were coming in like every half second. You get all these sirloin tips and ribeyes and so on and so forth. And we had to keep it managed while standing over a hot grill, while also making sure that the people who are putting it in the window are organized, while also stepping away to go out into the restaurant to greet the people, then come back to ensure that all things are done. So when we walk toward to the restaurant, we had to change the dirty garment, put on a clean one to go out and greet the people. And when we go back around into the kitchen, put the dirty garment back on and get to work and produce it out without complaining. See, here's something that I say often: ministry is either made or broken on the backs of secondary leaders. That they love the restaurant, but according to what happens with the people who are at the register, who's bringing the food, the waitresses or the waiters, the cook, it could completely destroy, take down, break away, break apart that church with good leaders.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the leader. Everything kind of starts happening within that secondary leader. So I've asked it, but now I'm going to ask this question a little more specifically. If I'm a secondary leader right now, where should I be positioning myself? What should I do? Because the restaurant has changed. They're not coming to the actual building. It's takeout. It's call is. So how can I position myself as a secondary leader? How can I catch this new rhythm in this world to make sure that, one, I'm not burning out my senior leader and he's the only one on the stove, or she is the only one on the stove trying to get all the meat out?
As you know, your place as a secondary leader, I don't want this to come out wrong, but you got to position yourself to be of value, especially in a season like this. The doors aren't open. We're not having service. I don't even need you to come to my house for anything. And outside of that, we have no relationship, minimal communication. There is nothing you can share that's going to help us I'm like right now, I'm on this call right now. I'm mad at my whole team because it took you to share this platform with me that we're doing this interview on. Why didn't none of them know that? One of them should have told me this. They had me up here on Facebook Live looking rinky-dink, and I could have been on this platform the whole time looking like Barack Obama.
Listen.
So this is part of bringing value. What are you reading? What are you studying? Who have you been exposed to? And with that exposure, what can you bring back to the table to make our organization better? You know, put it like this. Let's just call it what it is. There are churches that are thriving in this season right now. Although we're home and we're preaching in cyber sanctuaries, there are churches who are thriving and there are churches who are not. In many cases, the ones that are not are the ones that couldn't grab a hold to these technology advances. Not only could you not grab a hold to it, but sadly, you ran off all the people who had technology minds. You didn't feel like they were spiritual enough. So in the season where they could have given you something like this would have been the season where they would have brought you value, and you didn't value them in that season. And so in essence, I don't want to scare nobody. From what I'm hearing, we're possibly going to be back in this situation in November, December, in the fall, winter, maybe. If that be the case, what are we planning now? What are we doing now so that if quarantine number 2 returns, we won't get caught looking like a fool with our pants on the ground?
Wow.
So here's the thing. We have preached for so long. And this is where I have to kind of add a caveat. We have preached for so long, we have put our boots on the head of Lot's wife. She ought to be ashamed of herself. She should have known better. The only problem is you have not considered how difficult that was, and you'll find that in the book as well, in one of the rhythm units, that as she heard that, to go and not look back, she is not running as an average man, that as long as I have the backpack, I'm gone. I'm good. I'm good. But she's having to think, it was back there where I had my second child. It was in that house where this took place. So all her memories were in that house and in that city. So she just wasn't running to save her lives, but mentally she was having to disregard all those memories. And I don't believe she looked back just out of sin, but as a woman, she was battling with letting go of all those memories. Why is that important? Because it is so easy for us to demonize churches who are ready to get back into the facility so we can go back to church as normal. Because for them, church was the place that they overcame slavery. Church was the place where they had to overcome Jim Crow and all that type of stuff. Church was the place that when they were nothing on their job, they can put on a suit and go into church and they could sing. They can put on a nurse's outfit and be an usher, knowing they had not been to school at all. That was a beautiful thing. But at the same time, if we don't take anything new into church when we go back, we're no better than Lot's wife.
Terry, I'm sorry, Pastor Jones. My apologies, Dr. Jones. That's brilliant, sir.
We're
that's
no, we're
that's
no
brilliant.
better than her. What,
Mm,
what if part of this COVID crisis was an opportunity not only for the earth to reset herself, not the kingdom per se, but for the church institutionally to hit the reset button. And sadly, many of us are working on our game plans to go back to be the same thing we were before we left. And we're going to wonder why, when we go back, we're in empty rooms. Because our people have been exposed to something different.
yes.
Everything is evolving. Our
Mm,
bodies are evolving.
mm.
Our hair is evolving, whether it's growing up or falling out. Everything is evolving in many cases, except many of our African American churches.
Pastor, so you've actually answered one or two of the other questions that I had down there, and I was thinking about the post-pandemic church and how we should be preparing ourselves for if there is shelter in place part two, and how that should look, and when we go back into the building, uh, how is that going to kind of look? Will it be church as usual? Will we be looking back into Sodom and Gomorrah, or will we be looking forward into the next spot, the next destination? Will we look back and get turned into stone and never move, or will we keep our eyes ahead of us and continue a fluidity, if you will, of movement into whatever's next? And so, and I'm almost ashamed of it. We used to reference having an online campus because we would stream from Facebook, those kind of things. And every now and then, who we're connected to, I'd make sure I look in the camera and say, hey, you that are watching us and are part of our online campus, this word is for you, kind of thing. But never really a true focus into digital discipleship as much as it was into personal discipleship. And so I've already begun thinking of developing this platform with SOPs, standard operating procedure, for the digital church.
Yes,
Just because, again, now I've not even considered it as much, other than the courteous mention here or there. Thank you all for watching Facebook Live, blah blah blah. When now, whether I like it or not, whether you and I like it or not, whether the world likes it or not, literally, we got to grasp this concept called digital discipleship, and how is that going to look? And so, how does communion happen there, and how will baptism take place there, and how will we train leadership and they get to serve in that medium, juxtaposed to it just being in the four walls of the church? And so that's a lot of grappling, man. That's a lot of mental energy and a lot of thinking of who should we put there, and how can we split ourselves to where we're in both places at one time, and making sure that we don't do what the church classically does, and that is become extremist, running from one pendulum to the next. And so then when the prosperity gospel came, everybody ran to prosperity and left deliverance. Now they got money and jacked up in their life, so they're leaving prosperity and running back to the, we become just extremists. And being able to find that happy medium where we can touch people digitally as well as physically, and whichever platform they like, offer a level of excellence on each one. I believe it was Bishop Walker. We were on both of us were on this. Well, I think they actually aired it live the other day, but it was a webinar, and he mentioned learning how not to just count butts in the seat or footprints, but fingerprints. Yeah, I thought that was good. I thought that was so good. So developing the fingerprint movement without abandoning the footprint movement, because there's something to be said about physical touch, but we can't leave out the digital touch as well. So as a senior pastor, where should my mind be right now? How should I kind of recalibrate my thinking to catch this rhythm?
This post-COVID church is going to be different. And the receptivity of the congregants is going to be totally contingent upon the tone and tenor of the senior leader. If the senior leader is uncomfortable, then he would ultimately find himself resorting back to his spiritual blankies, grab a neighbor, high five a neighbor, whatever. And in those things, although that may be your tradition and what you're accustomed, you're exposing people. You are putting families and communities at risk. And they're going to be people who are coming to church, and it's going to take them a little while to become spiritual because this COVID crisis is changing so much. So as a senior leader, you got to be able to step in the room knowing that the rows are separated 6 feet apart. There's so much more space, but people are, it just doesn't look right, but you got to stand up and teach and preach like everything's smooth and there are going to be some cases you might have to, be amongst your congregants while they're walking out and you're waving with a mask on. And it's going to look weird and this doesn't even feel right. But can you be smooth enough to carry it out, to set the tone and the tenor to make people feel comfortable? They're going to say, wow, this was different. But the difference between the senior leader who has a cool, calm, and collected tone and tenor is that when they leave his or her church, they're going to say, this was different, but this was good. It's one thing to say this was different. It's another thing to say this was different, but this was good. And I want people to leave the city church, as I know they'll leave yours, saying, man, this was different, but this was good. So you mentioned like communion. I'll be honest. We did something daringly through this crisis is we had in-house communion. We had virtual communion in our cyber sanctuary. My wife and I did it from our home. We pre-recorded it so we can produce it and pimp that ride a little bit. We had people, at that time, we were in a real quarantine. Mm-hmm. So you weren't going to get no wine. Well, somebody might have had some. Doesn't matter. We just told them, go to the refrigerator, get some Kool-Aid, some ginger ale, get a cracker, get a piece of bread. It was raw. To some people, it may have looked weird. But to our congregants, by the time we were done, it was the purest communion that we had ever had.
Wow.
People wept, and the way the Spirit of God moved, and we could have easily said, this don't feel right. We ain't doing no communion until we can do it the way that it's supposed to be done. Or we can be daring, pimp that ride. This is different, but it's going to be good. And that's what people are looking for. Every church is going to be different. The question is, can you be good even in the difference?
Yeah, and I actually saw that. Well, I didn't see the whole thing. I think you put up pictures or something like that, and I meant to text you about it. I don't know if I did or not, but I thought that was just like unique, and but it speaks to the leader that you are, which is why I'm glad to be connected. I'm glad I know Terry Jones. I got his number. Some of y'all don't have his number. I got Terry Jones' number. He's somebody to know. We're winding down. I want to give you a chance to kind of have a last thought, if you will. But I want to add to something that you just said, and then maybe give you a chance to comment on it if you like. You were talking about, it being different but good. And one of the things that I have been challenged with is not fighting my urge to hoop digitally. Fighting because now I love a good hoop. I feel
I love it when you do it. So I'm just gonna get free. I'm gonna be honest. I'm about to embarrass myself, but I'm gonna be absolutely 100. Sometimes I'm in the shower and I cuff the soap and I grab my ear and I try to haul like Bishop. And I mean, it sounds pretty decent when I'm in the shower, but every now and then I might try it for real and it's just not right. And the Lord humbles me. So I need you, sir. Don't lose that hoop. There's a time and a season for all things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I'll hold on to it. It's never too. I'm 0.2 seconds away from it all the time. But what I started thinking was getting comfortable with sitting and just talking to whoever's going to listen without that preaching, quote unquote, cadence, without that African American expression. Well, I think Caucasians kind of do it well, but definitely that African American kind of thrust, that apostolic Pentecostal type of thrust. And I even challenged my fellowship some. I said, listen, people are watching us. Viewership is up, but engagement is down. And so we got to think about engaging the people while we're communicating, not just getting them to look in. And so that may mean that you have to slow down your message and then talk to some of the people that starts commenting, because I don't just want them looking like a show. I need them to be engaged as if we were in the building. And so then the way we do that is call and response, right? So then call and response just looks a little different digitally. And so instead of them saying amen and I can hear it, they're saying amen in the chat. And if I see it, then I need to respond, amen, sister so-and-so. Like right there, my wife. All right, I'm distracted.
Woman of God.
Yeah. So she posted. Then
She just got her new purse. I can feel it.
You see it? It's coming in Jesus' name. It's coming. But yeah, it's being able to make sure that I engage them and talk to them, because in reality, some of them are sheltered in place by themselves. And they're already used to watching Netflix. So I don't want my message to be another Netflix moment. I want the message to be an engagement back and forth. And so then I'm fighting my urge to hoop. Now Sunday, I couldn't fight it. So Sunday got good to me. I went for it. But it was Mother's Day, right? It's Super Bowl. You got to go for it. But then I slowed it back down and went back to the engagement piece. This gave me another weapon when I actually stepped back into the pulpit to utilize as it relates to engaging those physically, engaging those digitally, and stretching me as a communicator. Because great preachers are enjoyed, but great communicators are remembered. And I don't want to just be enjoyed. I want to also be remembered as someone who thinks, who talks.
You said that, so I had to go back. I said, whoa. Let me rewind that. He just said great preachers are enjoyed, but great communicators are remembered.
Yeah. Man.
That just freed me.
Yeah.
Here's my personal opinion. It don't mean much. I think sadly, especially in the African American context, when I see a great preacher, I grew up in the traditional African American context. Okay, there was a season, you said extremes. There was a season I didn't want to hear no more hooping. I was hooped out. And as I matured, I began to see the balance, and I also could appreciate the history of the celebration, the ministerial celebration in the African American context. The problem became when people started eating the dessert before they had the main course.
Yeah.
So there were preachers who didn't put in the work, and trying to hide the fact that they didn't put in the work, they just pulled out the strawberry shortcake when we didn't have any greens or any yams. And for a mature person, that was distasteful. So for me, When I hear a great preacher who puts in the work, he lays the foundation, and when he gets ready to start hooping, my response every time is, "Get it, sir. You earned that. You put in the work tonight.
Yeah.
You earned it. Hoop, hang them from the chandeliers. You did the work." And the problem with so many, especially in our context, is they haven't laid the foundation, they haven't done the work, but they're still going for the strawberry shortcake. And the church has become sick of it.
Absolutely.
Growing up, I can't take any more sweetness. I need some meat. I need some potatoes. I need some substance. And the church is throwing up because so many preachers have just fed us sweets.
Yeah, man. And now we're forced, those of us who are thinking, to make sure that we lay a great foundation and then go into it. I appreciate this moment because, again, like, well, Joshua Robinson just said, it's almost innate when the word gets good to you. Yeah, when it gets good, now you're gonna holler, and that's just gonna happen. But making sure that you bring that thing back in to communicate a point. One of the things that I attempt to rest my hat on is being relevant. That even when I was a teacher, teaching math, I taught 8th grade math and science. I couldn't get it the way the book was saying it. I needed to take it, eat it, digest it, and then give it out the way that I could catch it. And usually for me, rhythm and the R&B culture and those kind of things just made things easier for me. So when I started teaching fractions, man, I made a rap for my kids, and they were rapping the fraction, and they got it. When we were talking about order of operation, man, listen, I took Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, and I pimped that ride, as you said, and it became a song. And man, we're up in there singing songs and going on because I had to make it relevant to the people that I was teaching in the moment. And so relevance for me is just germane. And so brown gravy only means making it as relevant as possible. And so I'll quote Big Smalls, I'll quote Tupac, I'll quote Salt Pepper. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to preach a lesson coming soon called Push It. And I'm going to quote you 2 or 3 sisters, Candy Bot, Spinderella. So I'm going to quote them.
Go get it.
Yeah, man, and try to make that connection, if you will, just like I would in the pulpit, going as slow as possible from the beginning and then laying it. And that is not to say that those who go get it from the very beginning are wrong at all. It's not that. That's not. I know you're not saying that. I'm definitely saying that, because there's moments where I just go get it from the beginning. It's the moment. It's the atmosphere. It's those times, and so being able to discern the time,
yes,
respond to the time with what's needed in that time for that moment. And so then, as long as that's just not your every time you stand up, that's what you're doing. But then there's this aura. I mean, it's just like, I'll never forget one of the last times you brought me to the City's Church. By the way, I miss City Church Goldsboro, but
we miss you too.
Yeah, man, you threw me up right after your praise team did some kind of crazy song. And it was supposed to be kind of leadership driven. And I did my best to stay in the teach piece of it, but it just exploded in there. And we went for it. It was just one of those times. So picking the moment, discerning the moment, and running forward. And so if I could encourage any pastor out there, I would tell them, don't feel that you have to hoop to keep the people's attention. That if you lay some good meat on that table, and they're hungry enough, they're going to keep looking until you serve them however you want to serve them at the very end. And if you're a teacher, don't mind throwing a little accent on that meat, because they're going to put a little salt and pepper on it, so that they can enjoy it. Tara, this has been, man, I'm sorry, Pastor Joe, this has been one of those. This has been refreshing for me. I feel invigorated and revived. Your perspective and your concepts and the way you paint the picture of rhythm in leadership is just innovative and cutting edge. And if you're watching this video, this live or replay, you need to get his book. Put that book back up for a minute. And I actually got one of the first copies. I got one of the first copies signed. Yeah, go to Amazon, go to his website. There it is right there, and get this book so that, and it's not, we kind of spun it toward leadership. I think that book is life in general. So it's not, I ain't no leader. You still didn't hear what we said from the beginning, that everybody's a leader. I ain't no leader. Okay, don't worry about the leadership part of it. What about life? Get that book.
So if I can say this quickly, Bishop, if I might be honest, much of this conversation we've had today, you'll read that book and be like, shucks, that was almost totally different. This book is more life-giving than anything. And it is a 21-day devotional, but more important, for lack of better terms, than the devotional segments are the reflection questions at the conclusion of each segment. The reflection questions are going to call you as an adult to go back into time to that place where life hits you and you stop, you call pause, whatever the case might be. So that's the most powerful component of the book. If you got breath in your body, everybody needs to read it. And I pray that you don't, I could feel it, that, and there's part of me that regrets it, but then another part that says, no, it's for who it is. That the book causes you to go back into so much reflection. People who are honestly not ready to deal with some of those things, they'll actually quit the book. Say, this is too much. And it's not that the reading is too much, but the accountability relative to reflection is causing them too much emotional pain and trauma. So if nothing else, I pray that you have the fortitude to begin, but also the strength and the desire for healing, so much so that you'll take it all the way to the end.
Yeah. Christina Watts says, Bishop Brown inspired, City Church of Goldsboro loves when you visit. Thank you, Christine. You bless my heart. And of course, Dr. James here is helping us out. Rhythm, living at the beat of the Father's heart.
He's supposed to be tending to his wife.
That's the one who's having the baby?
That's why he's a great secondary leader. He's putting his pastor over his wife. No, I'm messing.
No, but he's probably multitasking. That's also another great attribute of secondary leader. And your wife is on there, Lady Juliet, that preacher. She's up on here, and we certainly love you, Lady Juliet. You know that.
Bishop, if you would, sometime I need you to give me a day where I can get you on Facebook Live in our cyber sanctuary. I've kind of been sitting and teaching. I would love to give you permission to squall and pull your ear for our people. We need it. We love Bishop Christopher Brown, Sword of Truth. If you can't honor and appreciate your leader, this man is famous everywhere except at Sword of Truth. I pray that you guys are honoring him and his lovely wife to the degree that they deserve. Bishop, your words mean so much to me. Someone of your maturity and your experience, the way you have affirmed me, you have spoken into my life. In addition to my spiritual father, my pastor, your words have also impacted my life. I never even thought of the possibility of writing a book until a man who walked in my church who looked like me, but didn't carry himself bigger than me, completed it just the same. So I owe you, sir. I honor you. You are an incredible gift. And as long as the Lord allows, we're going to go together till the wheels fall off. Man, listen, sir, I feel you're about to make me cry. but I received that, and thank you for that, man. It's an honor to do life with you. I don't have a lot of folk that I like doing like I do life with, but the ones that I do life with, man, there's some amazing people. My church hasn't met you on the pulpit yet. As a matter of fact, I think it was this year that we were planning to bring you in. I think you and I were kind of talking about getting it where we can get you here.
So we may do something digital as well until we can do something physical. But you make the call, you tell me the date, I'll make it work. See, friends get the privileges. And so it's done, and then anyone else, we just have to figure it out for them. But you get first dibs. So you tell me the day and the time, it's done. Period,
Yes,
point,
sir.
blank, no questions asked. So I
Yes, sir.
want to L. Smith Perkins. She said, love this. This is powerful. Thank you, Perkins. I think it is. I'm telling you, you all need to, if you're watching this and you're a pastor, get Terry Jones to your church. And right now, you can get him to your cyber church, and let him pour into your leaders, let him pour into your church. He's a phenomenal gift. I think that he's one of those ones who is the best kept secret of Goldsboro that needs to get out. So I want to help get the secret. I'm telling the secret, so that everybody can know the sauce that's happening there in Goldsboro with Pastor Terry and Lady Juliet. Amazing couple that will be great role models and will bless your church. Sir, I want to give you a moment, and I'm gonna put you on the full screen to minister to anyone who's watching, whatever's on your heart. One of the last things I was going to say is, prophetically speaking, what do you sense? What rhythm do you hear currently? And you don't necessarily have to go that route, but whatever's on your heart for the people who are watching and who will watch this replay, I want to give you an opportunity to just bless us. So I'm putting you full screen, and I want you to just bless us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for your time, for your patience, and for putting up with me. I don't see myself as anyone that special, but this has meant so much. I am a preacher's kid, born and raised in the church, and I never. This may be the first time I've ever said this, and I don't say this as a slight, but this is just an honest moment. Um, I don't know what it is to go to the club. I don't know what it is to be out all night at parties. I don't know any of that stuff. My deepest pains came at the hands of the body of Christ. My deepest pains came at the hands of the church. I love my parents. I honor my parents. But there were some things that could have been better. And they were believers. They were elders. They were ministers and pastors. And I think the most important thing for me is that we become a generation of balance, that we don't go to such extremes to where we're raising our families around the church, where they have church in them, absent of Christ. And I want our generation to be better than that. So much that I can give you, so much that I could say. I'll leave it this way. Stephen Covey says it like this. I don't want to be in a place where I find myself climbing the ladder of success all my life, only to reach the top and realize that my ladder was leaning up against the wrong wall. He says, I would hate to spend all of my life climbing the ladder of success only to reach the top and realize that my ladder was leaning up against the wrong wall. What is that wall that God desires for you to be building? First and foremost, that is your family, your children, your family. They are your first priority. It is a struggle. It is a battle that I still have to deal with, finding that thing called balance. And that's what rhythm is all about. It's about finding a place called balance. Just like your tithe, when you return your tenth, it is not you gifting your tenth to the body of Christ, but it is the kingdom of God giving to you in return an on-ramp of discipline in your financial life. That is what the Sabbath is. That as you make a commitment to do all you can do in 6 days, discipline yourself to give God one of those 7. And as you begin to live that lifestyle of discipline, he'll give back to you to be able to climb that ladder that you would desire. All right. So I appreciate you so much. I love you guys. If you would desire the book Rhythm, Living at the Beat of the Father's Heart, you can find it at IamTerryDJones.com. We'll gladly be able to serve you. To any pastors who are on, I would love to just hear from you. If you contact me, I would gladly put one in the mail just for you, absolutely free. All you got to do is find me, inbox me, email me or something. And you can't pastor Bedroom Baptist. I need you to pastor, for lack of better terms, an organized, structured ministry. And I'll certainly love to gift you. Thank you for your time. I speak the blessing of God over you until the time we meet again. Bishop, I appreciate you so much. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I just that quote by itself is something. Gwendolyn Jones was kind of like me. Don't let me make it to the top, realizing that my ladder was leaning on the wrong wall. If that by itself didn't bless you, then your blesser is broken, just completely broken. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to bless my brother. He came on without any reservation. He didn't ask me for anything. As a matter of fact, he said, "I'm on. Let's go for it." And I appreciate that and having that kind of friendship and brotherhood. But I also don't want to mismanage it as well. And so I want to bless him. I'm going to bless him. That's going to happen regardless. But I want to give you an opportunity to bless him as well. I want you to Cash App me a seed right now, and we'll get it to him. I promise you, you can trust me. We have a long record of integrity, and so and by the way, I wouldn't want to snatch this anyway. If I'm gonna snatch anything, it's gonna be a couple of million. If I'm going to hell, I'm gonna go to hell with gasoline jeans on. not for $20. I can promise you that. And
That's
so,
true.
yeah, man. If you send the gift, we'll make sure that we bless him, bless this platform as well. Definitely send something to Pastor Terry. The information to get in touch with him is on the screen. info@IamTerryJones.com. Take a screenshot of that so you'll have it later, or just come back and look into the comments. They'll be there. Your wife said she loves you, man. Well, you already know that, but I thought that put a smile on your face as you see it. And so, yeah, right now, if you would, go ahead and send a Cash App. That's right, Lady Jones. We don't want to mismanage our relationships. I value the Joneses. I want to be like the Joneses. Wasn't that like a colloquialism at one point or another? Being like the Joneses, we value you, and so we want to be a blessing. Send that Cash App $Bishop Brown 3, and let's take a moment and bless this man of God who's having some housework done, by the way, with the boys and his wife. And yeah, I am as well, but mine starts Wednesday, so I might not be able to do much on Wednesday because they got to come here and hook a brother up a little bit more. Let's get that date together, man. And let's do it. And plus, again, I got to get you with us this Sunday. Well, actually, Wednesday, the 13th, is the Sword of Truth's 13th anniversary. We were born 13 years ago, Wednesday, and so we're going to be 13 on the 13th. And man, I might have to pull you in on a Tuesday or a Sunday. Well, can't mess with you on Sunday. I know that's your time. We may do a Sunday evening or something, let you go for it. And maybe we'll do cyber first and then in person somewhere around release, whenever release is. And let's pull that together as soon as we can. All right.
Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. So I'll let you go. I know your boys ready to come in the house, and I don't want them to feel like they can't. They can't go. So we love you and appreciate you.
Thank you.
So those of you that are on, listen. Thank you, Mac. Thank you, Mac. He's definitely a brilliant mind, and I'm not sure to consider myself to be a brilliant mind, but I appreciate that, and I appreciate that thought. Thank you, Lady Juliet. 13 years has been something, and so we're appreciative of all that God has done with us. Happy anniversary! Thank you, Gwendolyn Jones. We appreciate that. Do me a favor, go ahead and Cash App right now, so that we can ensure that we bless Pastor Terry. He dropped some nuggets, man, today. And like I said, if you didn't appreciate anything that he said throughout the moment, I'm almost certain that last statement is enough for you to work and live on and pay attention to, and that is this: don't climb to the top of whatever you're trying to achieve and then turn around and look and realize you had your ladder on the wrong wall, that you leaned your ladder on the wrong wall. Take advantage of this pause, this divine pause, so that you can assess and reevaluate, take some Sabbath moments, and ensure that your ladder is on the right wall, and then climb. Even if it means you got to come back down from where you've already climbed. I'd rather go back down and get it right than climb all the way up to the top and realize I had it wrong the whole time. Did you hear what I said? I'd rather climb back down and then go get it right than climb all the way up realizing I had it wrong the whole time. So reevaluate and make sure that you put your ladder on the right wall and climb. Trust me, God will give you the grace to make it work and make it happen. So do me a favor, Cash App Bishop Brown 3, and let's be a blessing. Join me for another conversation, man. This is LeaderSHIFT Conversations. I am the Relevant Leadership Strategist, and we'll be doing these a couple of times throughout while we're in shelter in place and even after. Again, God has kind of afforded me another little nugget while we were in quarantine that I plan to use going past quarantine. So if you're watching this live or replay, do us that solid. And Pastor Terry already said, if you inbox him or email him, he's sending a free copy of his book to you. Why not bless somebody like that, right? All right. So until then, I believe that brown gravy has saturated these digital streets. Have a great rest of the day, and prayerfully we will be seeing and talking to one another again. Don't forget, tonight we're doing something called Helping the Helpers. It's for senior pastors and lead leaders. We're going to pour into you, myself and Dr. Kevin Robinson, Apostle Robinson, and I at 8 p.m. on Zoom. We're calling it Z-Pack on Zoom, giving you some strength and ability, strength and insight to make sure that you're good during the season. If you're like me, you've been really thinking, and you're tired, and you need somebody to kind of replenish you. Tonight at 8 p.m., go ahead and register. The link is in the comment box. You register. It's free. It's totally free to be a part of it, but we need you to register to send you the link because we're not putting it on Facebook Live, and we need to be able to say some things that maybe everybody on live won't quite understand, but a lead leader and a senior pastor definitely will. And so register, the link will come, and we'll see you in the Z-Pack for Zoom tonight at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. is when we're going to do that. All right. God bless. And we love you. We appreciate you. And we'll be seeing you very, very soon.